Welcome back to the first 44 RFL President's Day special. In this segment, we focus on number 44. You may know him better as current President Barack Obama. This, of course, the seventh and next to last President's Day Mr. Obama will have in the Oval Office, which means time to talk legacy. Now, Obama, as we all know, rode a wave of popularity into office as he made history winning the 2008 election. And even before his election, Obama, a world sensation, more than 200,000 people. Remember that when they heard him in Germany in 2008? His speech accepting the nomination filled a football stadium in Denver. I was there. And thanks to his critics, Obama's single biggest policy accomplishment will forever be connected to his own name, healthcare reform, also known as Obamacare. And on the foreign policy front, his biggest accomplishments may be the end of the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. If that is, concerns over ISIS and other hotspots don't change that perception. And who knows what Obama's legacy will be when it comes to domestic policy. Much of his agenda has been either blocked or buried in controversy, as he's faced nearly unprecedented levels of partisan obstruction and opposition from Capitol Hill. And Andrew, our good friend Dominic always says, I can't wait to read his book about what he will say as to what went on behind the scenes. And many people believe, he believes, that he's received unprecedented, not just obstructionism, but unfair treatment, even questioning his legitimacy before he even took office.
And I think that's the biggest question mark, really, about what his legacy will be going forward, is how tightly is he connected to the Republican opposition that he's faced in his time in office? Will they be joined at the hip in the history books, or will it just be on Obama's, difficulty with his domestic agenda? Look, the first line of his obituary will also be part of his legacy, which is first black president in American history. That's obviously going to be a part of his legacy. And then depending on what happens with healthcare, I think, whether it remains on the books, whether it gets more popular over time, that will either raise or lower how he's perceived.
Duran, a lot of folks, I think, at least in my lifetime, put more expectations and hopes into his presidency. I mean, I don't remember, there was mass crying in the inauguration, not just in Chicago, but in other cities when they were watching the monitors. I mean, if you listen to what John McCain even said on his concession speech that night, he acknowledged the huge turning point. Do you think people will think of this president as what might have been, even more than what was?
I think so. I remember when he was first elected, and I spoke to a number of churches and groups during Black History Month and even before and after, and I said, remember, the presidency has its limits. And I quoted something FDR said to Walter White during the anti-lynching crisis, where Roosevelt said to Walter White, I cannot choose the tools with which I have to deal. I could have suggested that he did more than he did. But that is a true statement, that a president cannot always choose the tools that he has to work with. And the problem is that Obama has had an unprecedented level of opposition, and it's shattered a lot of people's hopes, and it's shattered a lot of people's images of what can be done if you only have someone of a certain group in the White House. I think one of Obama's greatest achievements will be the fact that he was president, he served, and proved, yes, it can be done.
It's interesting. I say, you think about every presidency we've had, especially in the modern digital age here. There was no intern, in the Oval Office. There was no, I can go through litanies of scandals that have rocked presidents, both large and small. There hasn't really been one.
No.
But as again, I quote our good friend Dominic Carter, he can never do the angry black man because that's a card he can't play when other presidents can slam their fists down on the table. For whatever it's worth, I think that was a judgment error, that sometimes that's an emotion that he could have called on at certain times when the obstruction was too hard. And that's where I ask, could he have done more?
I have a question. Will the Obama administration in history show us more about what he is, or is it going to show us more about what we are as a nation?
I agree. That was exactly the point I was going to make. You're going to see historians suddenly realized this isn't just about Obama. This is about America.
What's your snapshot on how he will be remembered? I know he's got more than a year left in his term, but still, more than 3/4 of this game's over.
Besides being the first African-American president, I think Obama will be remembered as a president who cleaned up messes or finished unfinished business left over from Bush's term. He inherited the office under unenviable circumstances, a very deep recession, the worst since the Great Depression, 2 wars simultaneously, and these were problems, messes, if you will, that he had to fix. And he set about getting us out of Iraq, drawing down the war in Afghanistan, and passing a stimulus package to try to ameliorate that Great Recession. Those are some of the things he'll be remembered for.
But I want to bring you into our conversation, as always, at home, asking you the same question we just asked our panel. How will Barack Obama be rated and remembered as a president? Head over to our Facebook page or send us your response via Twitter. Up next, for the days when presidents had the power to change the nation, or did they? As more people complain about the gridlock and the political climate of today, we look back. Are we romanticizing the power of the Oval Office of then and now, or have times really changed, and how so? Our President's Day special continues after this.